God calls us, we feel inferior, we feel inadequate, but that is normal because God is bigger than us. So the way God sees things is totally different from the way we see things. That is why every time God tells you that I'm going to do it, you must believe that He will do it. Because with God, all things are possible. All things. Not some, but all things are possible. Have you ever thought in your life that what you are about to fulfill will take the grace of God? If there is anything that God has revealed to me in a deeper way in this 40 days fasting, is the level of grace has changed. And when the level of grace changes, the results that you command also change. The level of grace has changed.
Remember, this is the night of grace. Now, Dr. Nkoma will teach on God's assignment.
As we continue looking at grace, the fourth definition of grace is that grace is a divine empowerment for God-given assignment. I repeat, grace is a divine empowerment for God-given assignment. One thing is clear, that every time God gives you an assignment, the assignment is bigger than you. I'll give you a good example of our assignment of building a city in Chigumula. That city has a hospital with 100 beds, 4 doctors, 12 nurses, and houses on the same place. It has orphanage with hostels, keeping 100 orphans, classrooms, primary school, secondary school, technical college, 3 sets of orphans, one's in primary with their hostels, dining room, library, and classes. Another site, secondary school, hostels, dining room, classes, and administration blocks. Another site, technical college, hostels, dining room, administration blocks, and classes. Then we have a church there. Then we have a shopping mall there. Then we have barbershop there. We have filling stations there. We have restaurants there. Now, this is a city. We have police unit there. We have securities there. We have close to 222 houses there. Now, such things are bigger than you are. But I have good news for you. It's not us who fulfills what God has told us. It is the grace of God. It is the grace. As you are hearing this message, I want to challenge you. I want to stretch you to say, you know what? I can also believe God for bigger things. We have roads in that city. We have roads like Dokimazo. We have roads like Kiazo. We have roads like Dianoia. These are Greek words. We have roads like Yedza. These are roads that people will be traveling in the city of Powerhouse. Now, if you can't dream like that, it means you are depending on yourself. But when you are depending on God, this is nothing to God. This is nothing to God. Look at what it says in Exodus chapter 4. Exodus 4. This just shows you that no man can fulfill God's assignment by his own ability. It takes God's grace. When Moses was called by God, look at his response in Exodus chapter 4, verse 10 to 12. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my God, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto your servants. But I am slow of speech and of slow tongue. And the Lord said to me, Who has made man's mouth? Or who has made dumb or deaf, or seeing or blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, I will be with your mouth, and teach thee what you must say. You see, Moses says, I am not qualified for this assignment. Now that's exactly what God's assignment is upon our lives. You will never be qualified in your own strength to do what God has called you. Look at what Jeremiah says in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 7. I want you to see that every person that fulfilled a great destiny, he knew that within himself he does not have the ability, but he also knew that there is a grace of God that is available for him. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 6 says, Then said I unto the Lord, Behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. But the Lord said unto me, Say not that I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I commanded thou shalt speak. You see, every time God calls us, we feel inferior, we feel inadequate, but that is normal because God is bigger than us. So the way God sees things is totally different from the way we see things. That is why every time God tells you that I am going to do it, you must believe that He will do it. Because with God, all things are possible. All things. Not some, but all things are possible. Look at what Saul said when Samuel revealed to him that he's supposed to be a king. He says, And Saul answered and said, Am I not a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel? And my family, the least of the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Wherefore then speakest thou to me like this? You see, Saul is reminding Samuel that we are the least. We don't qualify. Look for another tribe, another family, not from the Benjamites, not from my family. You see, men and women that God has used, they felt inadequate, they felt disqualified, but now the question is, how come they were able to fulfill what God wanted? The grace of God. The grace of God. I want to assure you, my friends, there is the grace of God for your assignment. Look at what it says in Acts chapter 11, verse 23. What do people look for in your life? That's why many people try to convince everybody that they are called and nobody's accepting them. Because what reveals your calling is not just the things you are doing outside, it's the grace that you carry concerning that assignment. It says in Acts chapter 11, verse 23, who when they came and had seen the grace of God, was glad and exhorted them all, that with purpose of heart they should cleave to the Lord. They saw the grace. You see, there is a grace that is for your life, and that grace is for you to fulfill an assignment. Look at Galatians chapter 2, verse 8. What does it say? Galatians chapter 2, verse 8, it says, maybe let's start from verse 4. And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in private to spy out our liberty, which we have in Christ Jesus, that they might bring us into bond, to whom we give place by no means. No, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel must continue with you. But of these ones who seem to be somewhat, whatsoever they were, it makes no matter of a difference to me. God accepts no man's person, for they whom seemed to be somewhat in confidence added nothing to me. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcised was committed unto me, as the gospel of circumcision unto Peter, for he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me towards the Gentiles. It says, he that wrought in Peter, he that was working in Peter. You see, there is an assignment that God has put upon your life. And also there is a working effectual. That word there is the word energeo, which means grace is an energy. The batteries, there are batteries, spiritual batteries that God puts in a man so that he can do mighty works. You see? Without these batteries, you cannot fulfill anything. It takes the energy of God upon your life. That's the grace of God. That's the grace of God. There is a grace over your life. And this is the secret to you fulfilling the assignment that God has placed upon your life. Look at Acts 14, verse 26. Acts 14, verse 26. What does it say? It says, and these sailed to Antioch, from whence they had been recommended to the grace of God for the work which they fulfilled. They were recommended to the grace of God for the work which they were to fulfill, which means the assignment on their lives was in the pure responsibility of the grace of God. Have you ever thought in your life that what you are about to fulfill will take the grace of God? If there is anything that God has revealed to me in a deeper way in this 40 days fasting, is the level of grace has changed. And when the level of grace changes, the results that you command also changes. The level of grace has changed. I prophesy over your life as well that the level of grace has changed, which means even the results that you will command has totally changed. Look at Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12, verse 3. For I say through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among us here, not to think of himself higher than he ought to think, but to think of himself according to how God has dealt with him. You see? Then it continues there. As we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we being many are one body in Christ, and everyone member of one another. Having then gifts, dividing according to the grace that is given to you. So you see, your assignment is according to the grace that is given to you. Whether be prophecy, you prophesy. You see, so everything we are doing is according to the grace that God has given us. I want to assure you from today that there is a grace that God has bestowed upon your lives so that you can fulfill your destiny. Look at what Paul says. Paul actually is boasting about this grace. Look at Paul in Romans chapter 5, 15, verse 15. He says, nevertheless, brethren, I have written more boldly unto you in some sort, as putting on your mind because of the grace that is given to me by God, that I should be the minister of Jesus Christ to the Gentiles. He says, I am not just doing this in my own power. There is a grace upon my life. My question to you is, where is the grace upon your life? Everything you are doing today, I want to ask you this question. Is there the grace for what you're doing? Because what will make a difference is the grace that is upon your life. I'll finish with Ephesians chapter 3, verse 7. It says, whereof I was made a minister according to the gift of grace of God given unto me by the effectual working of his power. The same word in Egeo. You see, so what this passage is showing us, that what makes you walk in your assignment is the grace of God. And what is this grace of God? Is the effectual working of God inside. These are batteries. They are spiritual batteries that God puts in your life according to your assignment. I repeat the definition that I gave you, that grace is a divine empowerment for a God-given assignment. I repeat, the grace of God is a divine empowerment for God-given assignment. I can assure you, most definitely, that there is nothing that a man can accomplish significant if he has not understood the grace of God that is working in him. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Dr. Clement Nkhoma teaching on God's assignment.